talk a little bit about having our heads screwed on straight and really making sure that we're focused and we have the right mindset, and that we have our chin straps on and we're ready for what we're signing up for, especially for the new folks that are coming into and starting their business for the first. What I want to start out by talking about is there are three things that are absolutely essential that you as a business owner in this space, you have to nail down. Okay, you have to do all three at a very high level. You need to have them all three dialed in, and the reason being is because they all work complementary to each other. And I'm going to explain why as we deep dive each of these. But and I've done a video on this in the past, but I call it the critical path to success in this business. Okay, and so there's three components to it. So the first step in the critical path is the technology that we use. Second is the art of recruiting. And the third is the science of recruiting. It is obviously our funnel, the tools that we use, our ability to communicate with people on the internet. And then in addition to that, staying ahead of the curve as it relates to technology, which is a big reason. It is an absolute critical component of this business and will continue to be the case. And even more, we could probably become more important as we move into the future, especially with the emergence of AI and other things as it relates to technology. We absolutely have to be dialed in on this. We absolutely have to preventatively measure and maintain the funnels that we have. We need to constantly be on the lookout for new tools, for things that are changing, this sort of thing. It's absolutely critical. The reason being is because our job, our ability to close clients and make placements and reach out to candidates totally hinges for the most part on the internet. Even if you're cold calling, you got to be able to get someone's contact information, and that's going to happen probably on the internet about 99.9% of the time, unless you have a network of someone who knows somebody. It's going to come somewhere online, and so you have to have your tech stack dialed in. Now, the tools that we recommend and the reason that we're recommending them and the reason that they're in this program are for a reason. There are components to them that make sense, and there are certain things about other platforms that don't make sense, right? So if you choose to go and use your own stuff, that's cool. That's your call to make. You totally have the right to do that. We're not saying you have to use what we recommend, but there are reasons that we recommend certain things. It could be the licensing. It could be the price. It could be the quality of the data that you're getting from that tool. It could be the way that it's being viewed by AWS and Google. There just could be a lot of different nuances as to why we select the tools that we select. And that way, not only are you going to be educated in that, but you'll also be ending to formulate a flavor for the things that we need to look out for as we continue to track forward in this journey, as new things hit the market and that sort of thing. There are going to be different components, different variables, depending on what tools we're looking at, that are important, that we want to make sure that we have nailed down, that are typically a go or no go as we're making an assessment on whether we're going to use something or not. And so you absolutely have to have that dialed in completely. All right. So technology is absolutely critical. The second component is the art of recruiting. So it doesn't matter if you have the best funnel in the world. Doesn't matter if you're using all the awesome tools and all the stuff. If you cannot communicate with people and build rapport and build trust, you are not going to make money in this business. Even though technology and metrics, which is part of the science of recruiting, which we'll get into here in a second, are super, super important. Make no mistake about it. This is a people business. This is a business built and predicated on relationships, okay, both on the client side and on the candidate side. The biggest part of that, in terms of the art of recruiting, is going to be your ability to make connections with people, decision makers within your clients' organizations, and candidates, hopefully the top candidates for the candidate market that you're sourcing in. And those people are no dummies, all right? And a lot of them will likely be guarded and have been around the block a time or two. And so they're going to have their smell tester out and want to know if you're for real or not. And so it's going to be super, super important that you're able to pass that test, right? Make that connection, build that rapport, come off as a polished professional so that you begin to quickly make a connection at which will allow them to create some likability and maybe lower their guard a little bit to share some info, some data about them to help you win, to help your clients win. Okay. Super, super important. If you're not able to do that, it's going to be really tough for you to be successful consistently over a long period of time in this business. You absolutely have to be able to do that. Is to be able to communicate, not only to build rapport, but to communicate strategically and have conversations strategically with both your clients and your candidates to navigate those landmines that we know are out there. And the one that we've talked about the most, the two on both sides of the fence, are in your discovery call and then also in your internal screening with your candidates as well. Navigating those conversations with both parties in a way where, again, we're building rapport, but we're also collecting information about both sides so that we can make things happen and get people across the finish line. In the discovery call component with your client, the big juice there's a lot there, but the big one is understanding why this role is important for them. If you can't do that, you can't you can't pull that out of them or get them to be in a state where they feel comfortable sharing that information with you, you're likely going to be in some trouble at some point. Maybe you'll win out on a few and just kind of luck into it because it'll all fall in place. But anybody that's been doing this, especially some of the seasoned veteran folks in here, will tell you it does more often than not. It will not just fall in place. You're going to have to be a tactician, an experienced tactician, a knowledgeable tactician to navigate those situations and facilitate a win for yourself. Nobody's just going to give it to you usually. Sometimes you get some really easy ones and that's really nice, but it doesn't always happen that way. And so you need to be able to have the EQ, the soft skills, the knowledge, which is what we're giving you here on how to navigate those conversations, how to have them, your tone, how to build rapport, all of that good stuff. Super, super important. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about the three points of the critical path is because, especially for a lot of the new folks that have come in, the first thing that you're focused on is the tech stack, right? The funnel, the technology. And so I think that I'm sensing with some, we're getting a little too tunnel visioned on just that. And we're neglecting the other two components, which is, and a big one being the art of recruiting. That's something, especially if you are, not used to your experience is not in a client facing role previously, or you don't have experience recruiting and you're learning this for the first time. That's something that you're going to need to get some reps in now. And the perfect time to do that is while your funnel is getting warmed up, while you're getting people on your calendar, all of that, putting the work in now. That's something that you should be doing right now, because at some point you're going to have people on your calendar. You're going to be having these calls. You're going to be having these conversations, and to be cutting your teeth on those conversations with live fire is wasteful. It's going to put more time, more distance between you and that first paycheck, cash flow, right? Which we know, especially for startups, the number one priority is making money, getting that first check, getting your icebreaker, cash flowing. 1A is that, 1B is cost control. The third component, the science of recruiting. All right, so the science of recruiting is basically the metrics, the KPIs, the benchmarks, the numbers that we need to be paying attention to in our business to know the health of our business. All right, and so if you remember from our SciPod conversation, typically those numbers, what we're measuring is the output of our activities, right? The output of the things that we're doing. That's what we're measuring. Now, the reason that that is important is because typically it gives you visibility to your business so that if something begins to go wrong or go sideways, you're able to see it as soon as it starts happening before it becomes a massive problem and spreads like wildfire through your business, so that you can get in as an owner, as a leader, and correct it, investigate, triage, and correct, get into corrective action and get things back on track. If you wait and you don't have that visibility and you're not watching those numbers and you're not managing by your numbers, then you're not going to know anything's wrong until it's really, really wrong. right? And usually it looks like an empty calendar, or you're not making placements, candidates don't want to work with you, you're striking out left and right. That's usually, if you're not paying attention to the numbers, that's where it's going to present itself. Okay. And so an example of that would be, well, let's take our business development funnel, for example, right? That funnel and has benchmarks for a reason. So an example would be, let's say that your positive reply ratio is on target. You're at about 700 to 1 or less, but you're having a hard time. You're not booking 70% of those positive replies. So if you didn't know that, if you didn't know that you were booking 70% of those, you would just think that's normal. And at some point, it's going to catch up to you, because you're going to have to continue to consume data to be able to get people on your calendar to hit the KPI to ultimately make a placement, right? When instead, if you know you're not getting 70%, the input to that is your appointment setting ability, right? What does your appointment setting look like? What are you saying to people? How are you responding? What are the responses that you're getting? Maybe there's something that needs to be improved there. Conversely, on the fulfillment side, on that funnel, let's say that you're getting you're having the right amount of internal screenings per week, but you're having a lot of candidates just turn you down and say they're not interested. Well, is it the way that you're marketing the role? Is it the way that you are engaging them? Is it the way that you're sourcing? Is it, there's something there. And so if you don't know that, you just go a few months down the road without knowing that, all of a sudden you're broke, you have no money coming in, you're freaking out, you could potentially go out of business. And obviously that's not a state that we want to be in. But I say all that to say this: those benchmarks only work if you have the art of recruiting dialed in. The art is the glue that holds those numbers and those metrics together. Okay, so you have to have that, and you have to have the tech stack to be able to communicate with people. That's why all three are essential to this. Okay, um, now I just want to make sure that that's in front of everybody and not lose sight of, especially the last two, the art and the science, because I know everybody's hyper focused on the technology, rightfully so, but don't lose sight of those other two. Now, I want to say just in general about the recruiting business, because I get a little frustrated sometimes, especially with a lot of the marketing out there that is um, uh, for recruitment, coaching, consulting, mentorships, because I think a lot of times it's perceived and marketed in a way that recruiting is like just a easy money type of business to be in. That you just join a program, you pay your fee, and you're ready to be rich. Just make me rich now. And I'm here to tell you that this business is not easy. Okay. This is not an easy business. It's a real business, and real businesses have challenges. That's just real life. This business is not easy. However, this business is very, very doable. Okay. You can do this. It's absolutely possible. There have literally been hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are doing it now and have come before you that have been successful. But if you're coming into this thinking that, cool, I'm going to shoot out some emails, and a couple months from now, I'm just going to start making 50K a month. There's a lot that has to happen between sending emails and cashing that check in order for that to become reality. Okay, you have to put the work in. You have to take action. And yes, you are absolutely going to have challenges, constraints, disappointments, headwinds that you are going to have to power through. If you weren't aware of that before, hear me now. It's going to happen. So the best way to handle that, and the best way that I, in my experience, have been able to power through those situations, is I prepare myself before they happen, to expect that when they happen, it's going to be all good. I got this. I got people behind me. I got a strategy that I can lean on. I've got coaches and mentors. And all I have to do is keep taking action, keep showing up for myself and for my business, and continue to move forward. The one thing that you cannot do is give up. You cannot stop. You cannot take the mindset or take the position of, I'm going to wait for somebody to save me, because it ain't going to happen. Okay. This is your business. You got to take the bull by the horns. You got to make it happen. This group is an excellent resource. We are, like I said earlier, we are going to put everything in front of you and give you everything that you're going to need to be able to achieve that success. But you, like I said, you got to walk through that door. We're not going to hold your hand and walk you through it. We'll be here for you. We'll answer whatever questions. We'll give you everything we can proactively. But you ultimately have to do it. You got to do the shit.